Good morning, Internet fans. It's Ryan Perry here, Simple Biz Support. Today is Wednesday, August 17th. Therefore, it is Social Media Wednesday. And as usual, I have Sarah Giametti, the founder and owner of Provaro Marketing on the other side. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm wearing blue because Dodgers are finally in first place.
And I matched you in my Dodger blue as well. We seem to do this all the time.
It's only been a few months since we have not been in first place. I think it's going to be a good battle to the end. So I'm looking forward to the end of the season to see what happens.
And hopefully our team stays on top.
Cross the finger. It's all about pitching right now. Same thing with the Giants.
Right.
Let's also talk about social media. Today, you want to talk about kind of 3 ways to tell if your social media is working. And we're going to get a little specific. We're going to try and stay general as possible and not just talk about Twitter or just talk about Facebook or just talk about LinkedIn. We want to talk about it in general, but then we do want to give some specifics because part of understanding what's working, what's not working across all lines of digital media is going to be analytics, and some tools are better on some platforms than others.
Right. And I was reading an article, I think yesterday or the day before, where they did a study on small businesses, and it was something like, 85, 90% use social media and think it's critical to their business. But then when they were asked slightly different, they're like, I don't really know if it's working or not. And so that kind of prompted me for this episode on 3 easy ways to see if it's working, because social ROI can be a little difficult to track because a lot of it is wrapped around branding and getting your name out there and getting people to see your name. And that's what a lot of social is for, and eventually leading to customers. And so it's not quite as easy to nail down dollars to sales when you're talking about social media. And so the first one that you mentioned was analytics, is looking at the numbers of your social media. Facebook and Twitter have really great built-in analytics that you can go and look and see. Is your overall engagement trending up? Are people engaging with your posts? Is your overall following trending up? Looking at those things, seeing what's working, what's not, so you can tweak it so it continues in that path.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, one of the things that we should really talk about as to whether or not is something working or not working is ties into the whole aspect that a lot of social media is about branding, creating visibility, which ultimately leads to sales. So you really need to have a clear understanding as a business owner of what is it that you want to accomplish with your social media. Is it that you want to increase your visibility? Is it that you want to actually convert and sell products or convert for services? If you don't know what that answer is, then a lot of this isn't going to really matter to you because you don't have a goal in place in the first place.
Right. And going into social media, knowing this for branding and visibility, you're not going to have a positive ROI right off the bat, because you have to build that community and that engagement and put some effort and some time into getting people to come to you for questions and answers of whatever your industry is. And so you're going to have to do that legwork, and it's it technically is dollars to dollars a negative ROI, but down the road, as you've built this community and this following, you're going to see a positive ROI in your profits down the line over time.
Yeah, this is definitely a long-term play. This is not a short-term get rich. Social media is long-term. If you only plan on being in business for another year, probably not the best time to get involved in social media. If you plan on being in business for another 5-10 years, then you definitely want to get involved and be smart about your social media. Now, you mentioned Twitter and also Facebook as far as analytics go.
Right. They both have built-in analytics. So Facebook, if you're on your page, you go to Insights tab, and it gives you all the analytics of how every individual post performed, how your likes are, how your overall engagement. There's a lot of data in there that you can look at and see and you can see individually what post is working better than other posts. So you know what your audience likes, and you can do more of that kind of posts. Like, I have a client recently that they're a restaurant. When we post their food, their engagement goes through the roof versus when we post things about the community. So what do we, even though we were already posting about their food, we're now going to post even more about their food and a little bit less about the community, because that's what people want to see. They want to see the delicious food. So looking at that, we can make that slight tweak because we're paying attention to the analytics.
Yeah, perfect. And people that are using video is a matter of understanding how far along are people watching. And so if you find a consistency that maybe after about a minute and a half or 2 minutes, your viewership really falls off on a 3-minute video, either shorten the video to 2 minutes, or you need to have an interrupt happen at that point to keep people engaged so they stay with you longer.
Right. And you won't know that if you're not looking at the numbers.
Right.
And then on Twitter, it's analytics.twitter.com. And there's the new one, and I don't have that URL memorized, the new dashboard they kind of rolled out. So there's kind of two conflicting on Twitter. And I think it's dashboard.twitter.com, but don't quote me on that one. It's in a previous episode. We talked about it. But they both have built-in analytics, so you can look and see a lot of data. The Instagram has them. They just haven't rolled them out to everybody. I use a third-party software called Iconosquare, and that gives me it gives me some analytics on engagement, followers, what posts are working, what's not, things like that. So for those top 3 platforms, and Pinterest has analytics as well, so built in. So whatever platform you're on, go find the analytics, look at it, look at what your history is, and tweak your strategy based on that.
And just so people know, this episode of Social Media Wednesday, we're not going to dive deep into analytics, how to read it, and all those. We've had past episodes where we've talked about that, and there's plenty of information about the specific platforms. It's more of giving you ideas and clues, specifically 3 ways to see what your engagement is. And we've kind of burned up a lot of time on analytics, but one other thing I do want to talk about is Google Analytics. You can also go into your Google Analytics, and Google will show you where people came to your page from. Did they type it in? Did they find you on Google Organic, through Yahoo, Bing? And it also has, I believe it's referrals. Actually, it's social media. They have a whole category for social media. If you click on that tab, it'll list all the various social media accounts, and it'll let you know how many people came. And what's really important is how long did they stay on your website? What was the bounce rate? And how many pages did they engage in? And if you find that a lot of people from Twitter are engaging in your website and they're looking at your website deeper versus Facebook, that's another indicator, depending on what your original goals are, that you need to either tweak your message on Facebook or you need to spend more time in Twitter possibly.
Right. And so since we've burned up a lot of the time on analytics, the next one we want to do is driving traffic to specific URLs. So if you have a landing page that's got a lead capture on it, a lead generation, giving away a white paper, a video series, where someone has to give up their name and email address, and if you drive traffic from your social media efforts to that page and people are signing up, that's a tangible way to see that they're interested in what you're offering. And if the analytics kind of scare you, an easy way for a workaround on not having to dig into the analytics to see which platform is driving traffic to that page is having a couple different pages and using them on different platforms. So you have page A, and all the traffic from Facebook delivers to page A, and then you create page B, which is slightly different, and all the Twitter traffic is driven to page B. And that way you can narrow down which one's working better over the other one, and that'll show you it's a tangible way to see if your social media efforts are working and if your audience is interested.
Right. And one of the key things for that to work is that you need to make sure that page A is tied to Twitter. That link doesn't go anywhere else. You don't share it on Facebook. You don't share it on emails. You don't put it out anywhere. So that way you know that the traffic came specifically from Twitter. Another way of doing that would be through promo codes. It's not going to be different pages, but you could have a specific landing page for social media and then have a different promo code. If you're selling a product, you want to offer a 10% off or whatever the promo is, and have a different unique code for each platform.
Right. And if you're a retailer that's got promo codes built into your store or your online ordering, that's a really easy way to see if people are actually buying. And then you can see the dollars to dollars ROI for a specific campaign. And we did that for one of your clients earlier this year for Mother's Day. We had a specific promo code on different ads to see what performed better. So it's a really easy, quick and dirty way to track the ROI. And then we're going to move into the third post, which is ask your customers. Ask them how they heard about you. I can't tell you how many clients I have that don't ask that question. Where'd you find us? How'd you hear about us? And then if they just say the internet, go, oh, well, do you follow us on social media? Do you follow us on Facebook? Do you follow us on Twitter? Ask more specific questions to try and figure out how they got to you. So if you know that if a friend referred them, if they found you on social media, they found you through a Google search. My husband does all the time. How'd you find us? They say Google. He goes, oh, what'd you search for? And they tell him what he searched for. So then we can double down on those search terms that he's getting clients calling him on.
Yeah, and that's really important all the way around, because it's going to let you know where your marketing dollars are working, regardless if it's social media, if you're putting a print ad in the newspaper, if it is Google. One of the things you want to be careful of is that some people are going to just say the internet, and beyond that, they don't know how. And that's okay, but at least you have some idea. The other nice thing is that when you engage in conversation, and I love the one where you go, oh, well, do you follow us online? And they go, yes, on Facebook. That's another opportunity to ask people, engage in conversation. How do you like our page? What post do you like? Don't beat them up with 1,000 questions, but have 1 or 2 questions ready to kind of get a better sense of what's working, what's not working. Analytics are great, but when you can actually engage with a person who's viewing your content online and they're like, oh yeah, I kind of like this, or I don't like that. A great example for me is I go to a gym here in Roner Park, and a lot of times they have on very urban hip hop, I'll call it. And their target market is females over 40. And I'm like, I don't understand the disconnect in the music and their target audience. At some point, it's like someone needs to take control over the radio. I know the trainers like it because they're younger, but does it fit their demographics? If they simply ask the question, they might be surprised to know what the answer is.
Right, because I used to work out at that gym, and if I was the only person in the gym, I made them change the music because that music is awful.
Yes. And that's what I do now. I'm like, really? Come on. So anyhow, that's a tangent. But and we don't talk a lot about this, but the reality is, as marketers, most marketing people, and I've done it plenty in the past, is we don't ask questions. Whoever the ultimate client is, we don't ask questions, and just simply asking them, what do you like? What do you want? What's important to you? Scribble those notes down, and then boom, there's your marketing plan. It's really that easy, but it's not the way we're taught.
Right. So it's going to take a while to get it into a habit of asking the question. And so however your office is situated, your store is situated, put the couple of questions, or just a reminder, ask the questions, a little Post-it note where you typically talk to customers. If it's at the countertop, if it's, I've got it on a little Post-it on my monitor to remind me, ask, how'd you hear about us? Where'd you find us? And because people buy from people. So if you ask the questions in a conversational manner, and you don't have to ask them all up front, you can have a little conversation and then throw the question. So it just feels natural and part of just having a normal conversation with another person. You can easily get the answers without like bombarding them that you're grilling them on how they found you.
Yeah, and I like Steve Napolitan. Always have a hard time with his last name. Love where he said he just has 3 questions, and he'll either put it in his phone, and every time somebody answers that question, he writes it down in his phone so he knows, or you could just have a question of the month. And so every time somebody comes in and you're asking questions, this is going to be that one specific question you're going to ask to get more information about why somebody, chose you versus competition.
Yeah. So however works for you, just do it.
Just do it. All right. Perfect. We're out of time. If we could do a quick review of the 3 things you can do to see if your social media is working or not.
Right. So number 1 is look at the analytics, look at the data, see what's working, what's not, what's driving traffic. Number 2 is creating a specialized landing page or promo code and a different one for every platform. So you can have a really quick and easy way to see if your efforts are converting into dollars. And the third one is ask your customers. Ask a question or two or three and find out how they found you, if they like what you're doing online, etc. So you can better refine your online strategy.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. That is it for today's show. Next week, I will be, I might still be in the country or I'm going to be out of the country. I forget which day, heading up to Canada, doing a road trip with my dad. So I will not be around, which means we will be skipping next week. However, the following week, we will be back with another exciting episode of Social Media Wednesday. Sarah, as always, I appreciate the time and energy that you put into the show.
Thanks, Ryan. It's always a pleasure.
All right, everybody, that is it for today's show. I hope the rest of your Wednesday goes great. Take care.